Unexpectedly, the incoming weapon seemed to shatter. Instead of a single missile, it devolved into a spray of smaller, yet still immensely powerful projectiles. Slamming into the Kelvin, the unknown weapons ripped open several decks before finally concluding its path of destruction near the main engine room. Men and women were sent flying by the massive explosion that ensued. Others died almost instantly as the hull in their vicinity was breached and they were sucked out into the vacuum of space. Supports were twisted, sensitive instruments shattered, lines of communication severed. Precious atmosphere was consumed by fire that the ship's automatic suppressors struggled to keep from spreading. From the command chair on the bridge, a tense rowbow hailed engineering. "Damage report! What's our main power?" The technician who replied was not the chief of section. That venerable and respected senior officer lay somewhere farther down the stern, having perished instantly when the torpedo had struck. "Our shields did nothing. All weapon systems offline. Decks 9 through 14 report hull integrity compromised and numerous casualties." He paused to glance at a handheld monitor. "Main power at 38%, and I don't know how long we can maintain that." Dragging himself back to his station, the first officer slammed a hand down on the open communicator. "Deck 9, bridge here, report." "Plasma seals activated and holding. Can't say for how long, but for the moment we're tight." The first officer fought to gather himself, both his wind and his wits. "Winona, is she okay, my wife?" The reply steadied him. "Yes, sir. That's the good news. Bad news is she's gone into labor." Eyes wide, the officer turned sharply in the direction of the captain's chair. Rowbow had also heard the reply. He was preparing to respond when a cry from Pitts filled the bridge. "They're firing another, Captain!" Engineering's report had been devastatingly accurate. For all the protection they were offering against the current attack, the Kelvin's shields might as well have been made of aerogel. Barely deflected, the blast from the second torpedo tore a gash along the Federation vessel's primary hull. Flames flared and vanished as the oxygen that fueled them was consumed or dissipated into space. Every deck was rocked and, if not directly impacted by the explosion, suffered subsidiary damage that was life-threatening and ongoing. "Life support failing on decks 7 through 13, the helmsman shouted. "Get Starfleet Command on subspace." Rowbow fought to make himself understood over the growing chaos and confusion. "Emergency power to communications." Shields at 11%. Somehow the first officer had managed to stay at his station and monitor what remained of his instrumentation. 8%. 6. That was like nothing I've ever seen. The tactical officer was staring at his own readouts and shaking his head. "Velocity and condensed explosive capacity, we can't take another hit." Rowbow forced himself to stay calm. He had been through situations like this many times previously in simulations. To the best of his knowledge, no one had ever been through it in actuality. Gigantic unknown ship, unknown weapons, dead silence. Nothing to do but wait for... what? The answer arrived more quickly than he expected. "Captain?" declared the first officer with obvious surprise. "We're being hailed." Shoot first, talk later. An inauspicious way to commence embryonic negotiations, especially when your side couldn't shoot back. Still, he mused, no matter what happened next, talking was better than dying. "Open communications." Settling back into the command chair, Rowbow tried to compose himself. No matter what ensued, he wasn't going to let their unknown enemy see that he was rattled. "And keep our transmission tight on me. No need to let them see the damage they've inflicted." There was a moment of distortion before the forward screen cleared. The face that appeared on the monitor was humanoid. It featured heavily tattooed skin, pointed ears, and in parallel primate terms at least, an unpleasant expression. In excellent Federation lingua franca, it addressed its audience in a tone that was unapologetically severe. "Starship Captain, IMIL. My captain requests the presence of your captain in order to negotiate a ceasefire. He will speak to you only in person, face-to-face, come alone. You come aboard our vessel via shuttlecraft. It is unnecessary to provide docking coordinates. Once you are within pickup range, your craft will be acquired and directed to the appropriate location." Well, Rowbow thought, at least now they finally had some information, even if none of it was good.